Once upon a time, in a remote town called Afo, there lived a young couple named Nami and Asen. They had been sweethearts since childhood, and everyone admired their love. Their bond was so strong that it seemed unbreakable. Eventually, they got married, and their happiness only grew. 6 months after their wedding, Asen found out she was pregnant. Nami was overjoyed and couldn't wait to become a father. He took it upon himself to care for Asen, ensuring she had everything she needed. Nami insisted she rest, handling all the chores and making sure both Asen and the baby were well. As the months passed, the day finally came when Asen went into labor. She gave birth to their child, but to everyone's surprise, Nami was not happy. Instead of the joy they had expected, Nami was filled with anger, pain, and dissatisfaction the moment he laid eyes on the child. The baby was born with a rare condition that gave her 2 distinct skin tones. Nami, upon seeing this, was displeased and overwhelmed. Without saying a word, he abandoned Asen and their newborn at the hospital, leaving without even paying the bills. Asen was left stranded and confused. Her heart shattered as she wept uncontrollably. She couldn't understand why her child's skin appeared this way, and the shock of Nami's reaction only deepened her despair. Back at home, Nami couldn't stop thinking about the baby's appearance. His mind raced with doubts and suspicions, and eventually he convinced himself that Asen had been unfaithful. "She must have cheated on me," he thought, "because I've never seen a baby with skin like that." This belief clouded his mind, filling him with anger and betrayal. At the hospital, Nami's mind was racing. How could Asen do this to me? "I thought she loved me," he thought. He refused to return to the hospital, convinced that something was wrong. It wasn't until his friends and neighbors intervened, pleading with him to go back and settle the hospital bill, that Nami reluctantly agreed. Only then could Asen and the baby be discharged. When Asen finally came home, Nami confronted her, his voice filled with anger. "Find the real father of that child," he demanded. "You must have cheated on me. That baby didn't get that skin from me or anyone in my family." Asen, heartbroken, begged and explained that she had never been unfaithful and had no idea why their child's skin was different. But Nami wouldn't listen. His mind was closed off and he refused to believe anything she said. Nami made it clear that he didn't care about anything Asen had to say. A few days later, Nami's mother, Asen's mother-in-law, arrived after hearing the news that her daughter-in-law had just given birth. Asen felt a glimmer of hope, believing her mother-in-law would speak to Nami and help resolve things. However, to Asen's dismay, when Nami's mother held the baby, she shook her head in disapproval. Her face filled with anger as she looked at the child. "I never wanted my son to marry you," she snapped. "I always wanted him to marry my friend's daughter, Amaka, but Nami wouldn't listen." Nami's mother then began to insult Asen, calling her names and accusing her of having bad blood, even suggesting that was the reason the baby's skin looked different. Asen felt utterly helpless as the situation spiraled even further out of control. Asen felt utterly alone, with no one to turn to. She wept, clinging to the hope that one day the truth would come out and she would be vindicated. Before leaving, Nami's mother advised her son not to throw Asen out of the house, warning him not to bring further shame to the family. But her words were sharp and cold. "Nami, you've brought disgrace upon our family," she said, her voice dripping with contempt. "I warned you not to marry Asen, and now look at the outcome." Though Nami listened to his mother and allowed Asen to stay, he treated her with cold disdain. Despite his friend's efforts to reason with him, Nami couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal that gnawed at him. His heart remained hardened toward Asen, and their home was filled with tension. Asen had a childhood friend named Amma, who had grown distant after Asen's wedding to Nami. But when Amma heard about the baby and how Nami was treating Asen, she decided to visit her old friend. Amma comforted Asen, showing her love and support. She promised to check in regularly, offering a glimmer of hope and companionship during Asen's darkest days. Asen was relieved to have a friend like Amma to lean on for support and encouragement. She thanked Amma for her kindness, feeling grateful for her presence. True to her promise, Amma helped Asen with house chores, provided food, and even gave her money, since Nami had completely abandoned both Asen and the baby. Rumors soon spread through town that Nami was having an affair with another woman, though no one knew who she was. When Asen heard the news, she was devastated and confided in Amma about her husband's betrayal. Amma, determined to protect her friend, reassured Asen. "Don't worry," she said. "I'll find out who this woman is, and I'll make sure she pays for stealing your husband. Nami is my friend too, and I won't let anyone come between you two. Trust me, I've got your back." Asen couldn't help but feel grateful for Amma's unwavering love and support, even in the midst of her heartache. One day, Asen decided to look for a small job to support herself and her baby, realizing she could no longer rely on Amma's help all the time. She asked her neighbor to watch over her child while she worked. Eventually, she found a job as a street cleaner in town, sweeping the streets to earn enough to care for herself and her baby. One evening, Nami came home and coldly announced that he would be marrying a second wife in 2 weeks, one who would give him healthy children. He told Asen to prepare herself for the arrival of a co-wife. Though the news devastated Asen, she remained silent, holding her feelings inside. Rumors quickly spread that Nami was soon to marry again, but no one knew who the new bride would be. Amma visited Asen and asked if she knew the identity of Nami's new bride-to-be, but Asen had no idea. Amma, seeing her friend's pain, reassured her. "Don't worry," she said. "I'll find out, and everything will be okay." Amma was heartbroken for her friend and lamented, "How could Nami do this to you? After all the love and sacrifices you've made, he wants to take another wife? Don't worry, my dear friend. I'm here for you, no matter what. New wife or no new wife, I'll stand by you through thick and thin." As Amma comforted Asen in her time of despair, a glimmer of hope appeared in the form of a letter. It was from Dr. Okao, a renowned dermatologist who specialized in rare skin conditions. He had heard about Asen's baby and offered to examine the child free of charge. The letter requested that both Asen and her husband come for the appointment. Filled with hope, Asen pleaded with Nami to come with her to the hospital so Dr. Okao could examine their baby's skin condition. At first, Nami refused, saying that today was his traditional marriage to his new bride. But Asen begged him until reluctantly Nami agreed to spare a little time to go to the hospital with her. With determination and hope, Asen prayed that the hospital visit would bring answers to heal her fractured family. As they sat in Dr. Okao's office, anxiously awaiting the diagnosis, they learned a truth that changed everything. Their baby had a condition called vitiligo, a skin disorder that causes area of the skin to lose pigmentation. Dr. Okao explained that it was caused by a random mutation and had nothing to do with Asen's ancestry or any act of infidelity. Hearing this, Nami's world began to crumble. The weight of his wrongful accusations hit him, and his heart softened. Realizing the mistake he had made, he knew he had to act quickly. That very day, he was supposed to marry a second wife, but he rushed to the wedding venue to put a stop to it. When Nami arrived, he informed the bride-to-be that he was no longer interested in taking a second wife. To his shock, he discovered that the woman he was about to marry was none other than Amar, Asen's closest friend. Amma pleaded with Nami not to call off the wedding, but he stood firm. "I need to make things right with my family," he said, determined to reunite with Asen and their child, finally realizing the love and commitment he had neglected. Amma confessed that she had always had feelings for Nami since their younger days. When she saw the baby's skin condition, she saw it as an opportunity to re-enter Nami's life. That's how she got close to Asen, pretending to be a supportive friend, all the while trying to get closer to Nami. Desperate, Amma pleaded with Nami to continue with the wedding, saying, "You've always been my dream man. Please don't walk away from this." But Nami refused, leaving Amma standing alone in front of the crowd on what was supposed to be their traditional marriage day. Meanwhile, a young woman who knew Asen overheard the conversation between Nami and Amma. She rushed to tell Asen the truth, that Amma, her supposed friend, was the woman Nami had planned to marry. Asen was devastated, never imagining that Amma, her trusted friend, could betray her like this. However, hope emerged as Nami, faced with the consequences of his actions and the depth of Asen's suffering, began to seek forgiveness. The truth had opened his eyes, and he realized how much he had wronged Asen. Realizing the error of his accusations, Nami knelt before Asen, humbled and contrite. He begged for her forgiveness, promising to make amends and rebuild what he had torn apart. With tears in her eyes and a heavy heart, Asen found the strength to forgive him, recognizing that love, despite its trials, has the power to heal even the deepest wounds. Nami's mother also learned the whole truth and approached Asen, apologizing for her ignorance and for not listening like a mother should. Asen, in turn, forgave her mother-in-law, understanding that healing could come from empathy and understanding. Together, they began to mend their broken family. Amma, filled with shame, left the village for the city, deciding not to return for a long time. Meanwhile, Nami embraced his role as an amazing father to their child, loving her effortlessly despite her skin condition. He ensured that Asen and their daughter had everything he could afford. In the end, love conquered all, bridging the divide between past hurts and future possibilities. As the sun set over AFL, Nami and Asen stood hand in hand, their bond stronger than ever, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope you learned about the skin condition called vitiligo. My name is Only Stories and Fables, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please click the subscribe button to support me. Turn on notifications and share my videos. God bless you and thank you so much. Goodbye.